All right, guys, Sensei Hov with a breakdown on LTC for you guys. So if you saw the short video I did for Twitter, you know that this count is an alt count where we're working on the fourth of C of Y. I wanted to dig in a little for you guys and build the argument for this count. So we have our WX working on the Y and our A, B, C, we're working on the C. 1, 2, 3, fourth, and we're getting an extension in this fifth wave for the C. So there is an argument that the bottom is in. We got a good bounce right here, and it looks pretty strong on the way up, but these waves are ugly right here, and typically I go with the idea of if it's ugly, it's corrective. So I wanted to work off of that. And there's a lot of confluence for this reaction. I'm just going to show you. We had the -236 of this larger pull from the top. Let me zoom out a little so you can see it. From the top through our W, that gave us that 236 right around here where the bottom was. We also have this fib pull of the length of A that puts its point -618 right at that same level. We also get this fib pull from the 2 through our 3. That 2 puts a 0.618 there. Same with this one, 2 through 3. That as well puts that -618 right there. So we had a lot of confluence in this area to get a good reaction, and we did. But again, these waves are ugly going up, so I wanted to look at it as more of corrective than impulsive. So I'll zoom in a little for you. This line right here is 0, so I marked that off just so we know. Let me see. I'll zoom in a little for you. So we're working on the fifth. Like I said, we have the 1, 2, 3. We're getting this extension in the fifth, and we're also getting an extension in the fifth of C of the Y, where we'll have a bottom around $12 to $8 if this count is correct. Not saying that it is. So let me get on a smaller time frame. I'll go down to the 6 hours so I can work through this one for you a bit. Okay, so like the shorter video I showed you, this can work two ways. This can work as a running flat for this fourth, and then we put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the bottom is in. But it also works as this was A, B, C, because if you look at the fib relationships, almost to the tick of the 1.272. And this also looks very three-wave. So there's an argument to be made that the ABC is in. This was our 1 down, a correction for the 2. And then we finish this third wave, which gives us our proposed bottom. Now, if I look at the indicators, it matches this really well. So oftentimes I'll use the Elliott Wave Oscillator as a way to anchor my count around the strength of the pull. And oftentimes you'll see a smaller strength or lower strength push as the 1. You'll get a big push for our third, and then you'll have again a divergence of a lower strength push that puts in our fifth of a move. So if we look at it that way, we had a 1, a 3, and a 5 to complete just this third. Also, another way to look at it is we have this one. Now this is likely the third of whatever move this was, and if you just by looking at this oscillator you can tell. Let me blow it up for you a little bit more. So This is likely that third because it's the strongest push of this whole move. You see a smaller push here, bigger push, smaller push here. And if you look up at where the chart is or where the candles are, you can see that we get this one. We get a strong push and probably most likely our longest push for this third. If I take that straight up, that looks like a third to me. And then we get our divergence for a smaller, less strong push down. So that can give us the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the one of this third. Then we get the stronger push. Then we get this weaker push. Let me see if I can get on a smaller time frame. 2 hours. Let me zoom in just a little, just so we can figure out this fifth. So look, we get this first move down, a stronger push, and then a weaker push, just like I was saying before. And then we get this rip up. Let me zoom back out to the higher time frame just so we can keep order. Not what I wanted to do. All right. So now that we have that, let's start throwing some geometry on this. And I already have a couple. Obviously, you know me. I like to use these pitchforks. So let's see if I can. There's that one. And this one. There we go. I'm going to hide this other one for the time being. We'll get back to that when I dig into this a little bit more. So I'm going to close this as well. Open that back up for you in a sec. So we have this 1, 2, 3, and now we're working on this fourth. This pitchfork is the modified shift, I believe. It says original, but it's not. I don't know why TV does that. So the original, oops, let me go to modified shifts. Yeah, that doesn't change. If I go to original, it's pointing down. I looked at the shift. It didn't line up as well as the other one that I found, the modified shift. So I was sticking with the modified shift, and I'll show you why. You can see that this is holding it really well on all the moves. You get a touch here, touch here, touch here, touch here, touch here, touch here. Almost perfect touches of each one of these fib lines. This is kind of a hybrid of a fib pitchfork that I've shown you before, and also just the standard increments of 0.5. So I like this pitchfork a lot. You can see our bottom is to the T of this outer boundary, so we're going to stick with this move, and where we're at now, almost to the T of this upper boundary before we rolled over. I mean, we tick all these boxes perfectly. So if we're working with this as a 1, 2, we pull our fib down through the 2 to 3, and we've gotten just past the 50, almost to this 618 or the golden pocket, which isn't great. It's not the best spot for a 4, but this was a pretty good rip down. Let me see what this measures. Maybe not too bad, just a little under 200% of the 1. But you can see there's some good resistance there. Where was I? Oh, okay. So we're just working on this. This 4 is still valid, and I'm going to break that down for you. So from here, I'm working this as a ABC correction with the B as a running flat, and then we're working on this C wave. Now, I have a few different counts here. And I'm going to show you both. One is the red count, one is the white for this breakdown, I'll get down on a smaller time frame to make this a little easier for you to see. And then I will also pull up that pitchfork that I was telling you about. This one. All right. I know it's getting messy. Sorry. So this is just a original pitchfork with the increments of 0.5, not the fib pitchfork. And you can see that this has been holding it really well. You get a tick here, obvious reaction at the median line before it rips through, comes up, back down, ticks here. But then this last move is right to the tick of that outer boundary line. This is why I like pitchforks so much, is because you can put these all over the charts, and as long as you have correct pivot points and you've taken a look at how they're holding it and found the right one, you can pinpoint your profit targets and your entries. It's almost that simple. Obviously, it takes some getting used to. You have to get used to finding the pivots and then kind of taking a look and adjusting which pitchfork you want to use, whether it's an original or a fib pitchfork, or original modified or modified shift, or a shift, I mean. So anyways, I have these two counts that are trying to complete this C wave. We have a 1, 2, and then we'll go with the white count first. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is the third. You get a fourth and a fifth to complete the third. We get this A, B, C for the fourth of this white move, and then we get a 1, 2, 3 with a truncated fifth to complete the C. This count works. They're both equally as valid. It's a tough one to call because this is also choppy and a lot of sideways movement. So we also have this red one where it's the same 1, 2, 1, 2, but we get our third up here with a running flat here, or running flat here, where the fourth comes here, and then we complete our third up at this high. Now we're working on a correction. This looks like it could work as a B, C for our fourth, and it ticks this 382 almost perfectly. But also look at these two different pitchfork lines that help provide that support. So we could be putting in a 1, 2, come up for the third, retrace, come up for that fifth, and this will also be valid for this fourth, or the C of the fourth, as long as we don't cross this big line that I put on here. And I'll zoom out a little bit. I'll put it on the 4-hour zoom out. That is our wave 1 low of this move. So if we break that, then this count is invalid and we have to look at it a different way. This obviously, we can think of it as it's still a 1, 2, 3, but then we have to break it down to see how this can be some sort of ending diagonal if it's not the bottom per se. What else? Another thing that I'm looking for when we went over the oscillators is that divergence, and we get our strongest push in this area. We get that divergence here a little bit, but now we're working on this side, which could be our fifth. Now this is just a corrective stance, it looks like to me. So if we're looking at our divergences for this one to see if this move is in, we have our push here, a stronger push for our third, and we should be putting in a weaker push to either get us up here to this negative 236 to complete the move. That's also why I kind of like this red count a little more, because it obviously fits better with the look, but the oscillators are telling me like, hey, we need this one more weaker push to complete this 5-wave move for the C. So if this happens, if we get back up, when we don't break this line by more than a tick, maybe we hit the negative 236, we can also use, oops, that's the one. Our 1.272 is roughly in that area as well. What I'm also going to do is pull this APP, the length of 1, project it from our proposed 4, and you can see that right in that area there's that 1618175 pocket, which could easily get there. One thing that I did notice, that if we don't get another push up, it could work as a truncated fifth. I do not like truncated fifths, but they do happen. If you look, I pull this over, it's to the tick of the 100, to the tick. So keep that in mind as well. Move this back over. Right now I'm just building confluences like I showed you in the members only video. All right, so we put this in, comes up, it rolls back over. What are we looking for? We're looking for 5 waves down, however this is going to complete down to this fib level, because we have this negative 236 like I showed you in the last video, and the negative 1 that will give us clean algo targets. Let me move these over here, and that would be the completion of this move down. Otherwise, Litecoin's going to 0. So we'll do this. If it comes up here, we're going to look for a push down in 5 waves. Something like this. And remember, whoops. And remember that this pitchfork has been holding this move really well, so it will do the same on this move down. What I would do is, once we get a clear 1-2, is I'd pull another pitchfork and see how that wave unfolds. If it's going with the correct time, then an original pitchfork will work. If it's kind of taking a while to move, then the other pitchforks might be better. But this is what I look for when I'm putting together a count and trying to make sense of moves. I like using these oscillators because they do help anchor the count. If you have any questions, feel free to ask or shoot me a DM. All right, guys, I hope this helps.